2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to A New Direction. My name is Jay Izzo, and oh man, am I so excited because he said he would come back one more time. His name is Lynn Guerin, co-author of the book, Coach 'em Way Up. Oh, yeah, I love this book, 5 Lessons for Leading the John Wooden Way. And you know what? Here's what's so cool. Lynn decided to do something really neat. Because we were talking last time he was on about you and your growth. And we're still probably going to talk about that because we can't get there to where we're going to talk about today. But you know what? He sent me the organizational excellence pyramid, the John Wooden way. And we're going to talk about leading your business, leading your organization, all right, the John Wooden way. That's what we're going to focus on. And here is the beautiful thing about John Wooden's legacy. All right, first of all, he was a champion, all right? Understand that he was not just a winner, he was a champion. Matter of fact, he was a national champion 10 times over, right? And he was not only a national champion, but his teams went undefeated. And every player that you ever talk to cannot express enough love and admiration for the man. Mm-hmm. He did something in a way that very few can. And now Lynn Guerin is going to share with us today some of the insights of his 20 years, maybe 20 plus years, that he spent with John Wooden, right up until the very day of his death. And it is powerful. It is eye-opening. I suggest that you get a paper and some notes or record the show. Or you know what? It's going to be a podcast anyway, so why not just listen to the show over and over and over again? Just take notes, please. Take notes, because what Lynn is going to say to us today, I promise you, is going to help you. It's going to help your business. It's going to help your team, your players. I promise it will. But before we get to Lynn, let's do what we do every week, right? And that is I walk you through the 4 areas of your life, right? We are 4-part people. We are physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual people. And we need to be working on our 4 areas every single day, right? Because if we're not, the truth of the matter is, if you're not really growing, you're dying. Because nothing ever stays the same. It's absolutely true. Whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so, folks, it's important that we do something every day in those 4 areas of our life so that we could be a complete person. And you know what? Coach Wooden was the same way. He believed the same things. Absolutely. And I can see out of the corner of my eye, Lynn is shaking his head, and because he knows that that's true too. But here, let me just say this. It's you may not be a high number today, and that's okay. It doesn't matter that you're high number, but wherever you are. Let's start there and then let's work up. Okay? So let's not get discouraged because you say, well, I'm a 3. It's okay. We're going to just try to get you to a 3.5 today, all right? We're going to just change something. We're just going to make little changes, because over time, even Coach Wooden said this, little changes done consistently over time turn into greatness. They truly do. So let's start with the physical. So what I mean physical, scale of 1 to 10, 1 being miserable, 10 being outstanding. If you could rate yourself physically, how well you are doing, say exercise, eating right, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. Let's just take those. How would you say you're doing out there on a scale of 1 to 10? Remember, the number doesn't matter. Okay, now you got your number. Now here's the question. What can you do to change it right now? Can you go out and take a walk? You could listen to this podcast and take a walk for an hour. Or maybe, you can exercise in your gym. I just got exercise in my gym today, right? In my garage gym, right? That I built, right? Right. Maybe it's, you haven't been drinking enough water. Maybe you haven't been going to bed early enough, right? Whatever it may be, do something to change what you're doing. All right. Physically. All right. So you got that first number. That's your physical. The second number is the mental number. And let's not be mental loafers, right? Let's not just sit there and let stuff come at us, right? Let's be active in our mental growth, right? This is growing in your wisdom and your knowledge and your understanding, whether that's your industry or whether that's you or whether that's your marriage or whether that's your relationships, whatever it is. What are you doing to actively grow in that? Maybe it's read a book. This is a good book to read. I like this book. This is good. I'd highly recommend this book. I think you should read this book because I think it will help you grow. I know it will help you grow mentally. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself, right? Again, it doesn't matter the number. Now, what can you do to change it? Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do, by the way. Right? You don't have to just read a book. You know what you could do is you could take up I have a client, she's learning sign language. And you know what that does? It exercises something new. It's exercising both halves of the brain. It's a mental challenge. It's something that's helping her grow, right? And I love it. And so we practice doing sign language, and she's doing great. And I'm really, really proud of her. So what's your mental? What do you do to expand yourself mentally? All right. Then the third is the emotional, right? And I look at the emotional two ways. One is, how well are you able to control your emotions under stress, when you're tired, and when you're hungry? And you know what we call it, right? When you're tired and hungry, we call that hangry, right? When we're tired and hungry, we're hangry. How well are you able to control your emotions in that element? And then the second piece is, how well are you able to really tap into and understand the emotions of other people? Right? We call that empathy. Sometimes we need to expand our vocabulary in our emotional knowledge. So if you could put those two together, what number would you give yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? Right? And then what can you do to change it? You know, the truth of the matter is, when it comes to your emotions, you have control over them if you want to. I heard somebody make just such a beautiful statement the other day while watching a video, and she said, you don't have to wait till your life isn't hard to decide to be happy. And she had cancer in her lungs and in her back and all over. And she has a 2% chance of living. And I thought, how powerful is that? You can't wait until life isn't hard before you decide to be happy. That's emotional control. And then finally, there's the spiritual. And a lot of you out there go, I'm not spiritual. Yeah, you are. You're spiritual. You can't help but spiritual. You have faith. You believe in something. We all have faith in something. You have faith that something is going to happen that hasn't happened yet. Right? Some people, what brings you to center? What brings you to a sense of peace in the midst of chaos? Whether that's God, is it God? Is it nature? And then is it something else? And how's it working? Because if it's not working, you need to change it. That's the bottom line. Right? Because you can't experience peace in the midst of chaos. I can tell you that right now. It's not always easy, but it can be done. So you have 4 numbers. 4 numbers are like the legs of the chair, and the legs of the chair, if they're not brought up evenly, you know what happens? You get bad posture if you sit in that bad chair long enough. And at the same time, you know what? We want those 4 legs to come up evenly. So, and speaking of a person who's got all his legs coming up evenly and at the right height, his name is Lynn Guerin. He's a co-author and is the CEO of the John Wooden course and the president and head coach of his family-owned coaching, training, and performance development firm called Guerin Marketing Services. For the past 20 years, Lynn has had the unique privilege of partnering with an American treasure, legendary UCLA basketball coach John Wooden, and the Wooden family. The book, Coach 'Em Way Up Here, captures Lynn's personal experiences in the conception, design, development, and delivery of the Wooden way. Lynn received his BA in liberal arts and business and his MA in international studies from Western Michigan University, and he lives in Temecula. Is that right? Temecula,
yeah.
Temecula, California, with his wife Tracy, and he has 2 sons, Kyle and Cole, and a couple grandsons, maybe more by now. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show and welcome back to A New Direction, Lynn Guerin. Welcome back, Lynn.
Oh, fantastic to be here, Jay. You are such an energetic, positive guy, man. I just love being around you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, listen, you know, I can't overstate how much I love this book. And as soon as I read it, you and I had a great conversation after the show, and I wanted to bring you back, and you said yes. And then we decided that one of the things that we were going to do is, because we focused so much on the individual and personalization, which we inevitably are going to talk about because of the personal success of John Wooden. But then you sent me the organizational excellence pyramid, the John Wooden way. And I think it is important for people to understand that John Wooden, the man, of course, was unbelievable. And when you read the book, I mean, his personal pyramid of success is incredible. But he also had a vision for organizational success. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think every day, you know, what Coach Wooden's life was all about was what our lives are all about. We're trying to help ourselves get better. Hopefully we have the opportunity to help a few other people get better. We're usually connected to an organization or a business or a family, and somehow we've got to move that process along as well. So we're working on these 3 or 4 agendas, or these 3 or 4 missions at one time. And I think Coach Wooden had a very powerful way to address all those. And that's what we've continued to study as performance improvement consultants and teachers and trainers over the years, helping people be the best that they can be. But I think all of the things that we've been trying to put together and that Coach was just incredibly brilliant on has come together in a way in which we can clearly understand and organizational excellence and individual excellence and help people move along that improvement path. We kind of call that the wooden way. We make reference to it in the book. And, the wooden way, simply stated, is really just a path to realizing your full potential. When you make the maximum effort to become your best while helping, serving, and coaching others to become their best. And that wooden way process works individually, it works in a family, it works in a very large or small organization. So, that's what the book, the process, the mission is all about, helping people get a grasp for that, the John Wooden way, embrace him as a coach and mentor. We all need teachers and coaches and mentors in every part of our life. And I think he's about the best you can do when it comes to having a mentor that can really help you get where you want to be and help you be who you want and need to be as a person.
So let's talk about this pyramid of organizational excellence, because you sent me this amazing picture where the base is the pyramid of success behaviors, and I'm thinking this is really John's personal pyramid of success, where we kind of covered pieces of that anyway last time. That it starts with you. That if your organization is going to be successful, it is going to start with the fact that you have to be different.
Yeah, I think we'd like to say, Jay, that no one is going to be any more successful coaching others than they are coaching themselves, and that's really where the process starts. And that's what Wooden's pyramid was all about. He spent 14 years trying to define the behaviors that would ultimately help him achieve success and help others achieve success as he defined it. And that definition of success is pretty important, because it touches on his views of self-satisfaction and how important peace of mind is, and where effort and capability come together to ultimately create success. Ironically, I got an email today from a client who's in Singapore and sent me a link, a presentation from the Minister of Education talking about the need to help the children of Singapore find a new definition of success, because they'd recently had some incredible tragedies around young people, around the pressures that they were feeling in life and how they responded to those pressures. So, John Wooden's understanding about what true success looks like, and then know that journey to true success is all about the day-to-day behavior that is helping you, along that journey. And that, to me, is why the pyramid is so foundational, and why it is at the foundation of our approach to organizational excellence, because it's the behavior blueprint for an individual, for a team, and for the entire organization.
It's really interesting that you just mentioned Singapore. It happens to be one of the main audiences that I have.
Interesting.
On my show is Singapore, which is really interesting to me. I get a lot of people listening to the show, and of course, this is a success and leadership show.
Yeah.
I interview people who write books on success and leadership, like you, and of course, Jason Lavin helped you write this book as well. But I just find that interesting that you brought up Singapore, because it is a major audience.
Well, he's the gentleman that sent me that is a client that actually was in Australia, and his family children were going to school in Singapore. He's Asian, and now has moved. Finally got the family all together, and they're in Singapore. But we actually went to Perth, Australia, and did a week-long Wooden certification course with this gentleman and 7 or 8 of his team members that were part of a high technology firm in Perth, Australia, but now he's moved to Singapore. Has a very high level job over there, but very involved in education and his children's education. And so we're going to try to find a way to deliver some of those messages into that culture, some of Coach Wooden's core messages into that culture.
Yeah, I think that's amazing, because the way Coach Wooden defined success is so individualistic, but it's so powerful. I loved his thought process on it, because it wasn't necessarily a scoreboard. And, he said that plainly. He said, just because you lose the game doesn't make you a loser. Right.
Yeah. When you started out your presentation around the 4 key elements of mental, moral, physical, and spiritual, that is, John, that's the condition block on the pyramid of success.
Right.
So
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's exactly how Coach thought about it, and he had a game plan for all of those 4 elements. And I think you also referenced powerfully just helping us to understand. And I know you came across it in the book. There's a powerful chart in the book that is basically John Wooden's approach to change. He had this great phrase that not all change is progress, but there is no progress without change. And he had a very organized way to think about that. And he had some very powerful phrases to remind him of the steps of change that you have to go through to continue to improve. And that's one of the core ideas, starting with improving the quality of your thinking. You have got to be thinking powerfully and positively about the idea of constant change in your life, because that's the only way improvement happens. Coach liked to say that people are usually about as happy as they make up their mind to be. So that's where change starts, right? You have got to decide, right? You've got to make that mental decision that I'm not going to be depressed. I'm not going to be down. I'm not going to be defeated. I'm not going to be in a position where I'm not approaching things the way I should be. I'm not going to get discouraged. There's so many things that you have an opportunity, to take control of your mind and your thoughts that drive your actions and behaviors. And so I think Coach had it pretty well. You're about as happy as you make up your mind to be. So I'd say to everybody out there today, hey, get happy, be happy. And oh, by the way, make that decision every day.
I love that. That's beautiful. I just love that. Because I'm such a believer in that, we control 2 things for certain, and that is our attitude on our effort, regardless of what's happening around us. And I don't know that many people want to accept that fact, but it really is true that regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the situation, I can control my attitude. I can control my effort. And I know that that's difficult sometimes for people to hear, but gosh, it is a mental thing. You have to make up your mind saying, okay, this is not going to get to me. And I guess there's another thing I subtly say that's the same thing. And you choose whether you're going to quit or not, yeah. I mean, and I I guess that's maybe the third thing I put out there, but I think it's so important because, he talks about, changing your thinking and how important it is to change the way you think. And you have to challenge it because, we grow up with parents who aren't perfect. And sometimes we can get stinking thinking and there's just no other way around it. It's not their fault because they pushed it down and they didn't know, right? They thought they were doing everything right. It's not that they're to blame, but it is responsibility on us to be able to start going, hey, I maybe need to challenge some of my thought processes here because I'm not sure that this is right. And I think that's one of the things that I think Coach Wooden expresses throughout this book, Coach Him Way Up, is, by the way, available bookstores near you and Amazon. I think one of the things that he does is he challenged his own thinking. It took him 14 years to develop this pyramid or something like that. Was it? Did I get that number right? 14 years? Yeah, he worked on the definition for a couple of years and worked on the pyramid literally 14 to 16 years. He never stopped thinking about it. I can tell you, I had conversations when he was in his 90s. He was still thinking about blocks that maybe he should have had or didn't have, or working on a definition or improvement. He never stopped thinking about that process. Never
never stopped challenging the quality of his thinking. It's one of the reasons why at 99 years old, he still was incredibly mentally vital and sharp.
Yeah, well, I think though what it says, right, is that he spent 99 years of his life challenging his own thought process.
He spent 99 years on the pyramid of success.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, if that's the foundation, everybody needs to see that clearly. His name is Lynn Guerin. He's the co-author of this book entitled "Coach 'Em Way Up," and you're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, everybody, I have two great sponsors. Epic Physical Therapy is one of them. And whether you're recovering from an injury or surgery or suffering from everyday aches and pains, or maybe you're just having difficulty performing activities of daily living, listen, if you're just looking to improve the way you move and feel, or maybe you're a professional athlete or want to be a professional athlete, Epic Physical Therapy can provide you with a customized treatment plan tailored to your individual needs. Listen, with their experience at rehabbing young athletes and elite professional athletes, they really do understand the need to treat the entire body as a functional whole, not just your symptoms or your injury. So when you're ready for your epic relief, when you're ready for your epic recovery, when you're ready for your epic results, don't go anywhere else. Start with epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft and Team Realtors. You know what? For over 35 years, they have been at the top of the real estate game, independently owned and operated, not attached to any national brand. She has been able to cultivate relationships across the globe to help people, no matter where they at, sell their home or buy their home. How does she do that? Well, she is the relationship maker. There's just no doubt. Matter of fact, her very first clients from 1985 still come see her today. That's the kind of strength she has in the relationships that she makes, and that is the quality of her team as well. So listen, when you're ready to buy or sell your home, go with the one that her clients call the legend of customer service, especially when it comes to real estate and your real estate needs. Go to Linda Craft and Team. Just go to lindacraft.com. That's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction. We're with Lynn Guerin, who I'm so happy to have back. He's just such a voice of peace. I got to be honest, he makes it easy. The book is entitled "Coach 'Em Way Up," and he's fantastic. So let's go up a level on this pyramid, Lynn. It's called self-coaching, and we have think, set the example, teach, lead, and mentor. So when we go up this pyramid, we had the pyramid of successful behaviors, which is the base. The next level up on top of that is self-coaching. Why is that the next level, and what are we really talking about here?
Well, it's the idea that the pyramid of success gives us a foundation for all of the behavior that we really need to try to emulate every day. And it provides really a blueprint for us to effectively coach ourselves. The pyramid is so powerful in giving you a framework for thinking about whether it's your work or your life or all kinds of things. It provides that sort of ultimate filter. So you take that, okay, I've got this idea of what my behavior should look like on a day-to-day basis. Now I have the personal responsibility to coach myself to this maximum level of effort, understanding the capabilities I have, understanding the opportunities I have to serve and help others. So we think then the idea of having this framework for behavior and then taking the responsibility to coach yourself. I think we like to talk about everyone becoming the head coach of their own life. I think that's some of the language that we use in the book. And so you say, well, how do I get that job? How do I become the head coach of my own life? If I'm trying to be the head coach of a major university, there's a pretty rigorous process to become that head coach. But the process of hiring yourself, promoting yourself to become that head coach is doable, and everybody can take the responsibility to do that. So you really got to give yourself that promotion, and you got to hire yourself to become the head coach of your own life and understand what the responsibility of that is. And, you got to ask yourself, if you don't do that, who's gonna, right? Is there a better candidate to build, grow, and develop you than you? And I mean, sometimes we're lucky enough in life that's, a coach or a mentor, parents at varying levels of quality, that idea that somebody sees something in us that we don't see in ourselves and becomes, an special encourager. Jay, just as you talked about becoming that coach, but ultimately, it's got to happen day to day inside yourself. You've got to take on that role. You're the person who ultimately has the most at stake on how successful that self-coaching is, and you're the one that has the most control over it. I like to think that, as Coach Wooden defines success, that that personal success is most likely to come based on your ability to coach yourself. Probably the real joy in life is going to come from your desire and willingness and ability to help coach and develop others. But you got to start and build those coaching skills by coaching yourself. And that's why we think that second level of self-coaching, and we provide in the book basically what John Wooden's 5-part process was for coaching himself. The quality of his thinking, the example he set every day, his approach to being a teacher and knowing everything was a learning and teaching opportunity. And then the possibility and the responsibility for leadership and the opportunity for mentoring. So thinking about yourself as a coach, and then having the behavior to coach to, and having a process to be an effective coach of yourself. That's what that second tier is all about.
In the book, you provide actually some, what we call that work. I don't know if it's a workbook, but there's certain things that we can actually work through some of these.
Yeah, we've got some activities and actions that you can take. And the whole process is about actions. It isn't enough to think about it. You got to get to the do and take the actions to move things forward. And we tried to provide a lot of things to think about and a lot of things to do to encourage you to get started with these processes of improvement.
Yeah, I found that you and I talked before the show that I found them extraordinarily thought-provoking. And not only thought-provoking, they kind of challenged my own way of thinking, going, I need to put these down in paper, because you and I talked, and of course everybody wasn't privy to what you were talking about, but he makes a big deal about putting these things down on paper, didn't he?
Yeah. He would say if you didn't write it down, you probably don't have it, and you certainly don't have it for any extended period of time. So if the idea is I've got to develop a core philosophy around my own personal coaching, I need to know exactly who I am, what I stand for, what I'm trying to accomplish. And how I'm going to impact others. And you've got to find a way to put those things in words and get them on get them into your computer, get them in writing.
Yeah, I told you I went through the exercise. I thought it was just brilliant. I mean, it really did challenge, because what I thought was important to me, all of a sudden I was like, oh, there's an order here. Of what is the core importance. If you ask me, these are my top 3, this is it, and so, but I mean, it was really, really, it was just a great exercise. I really tell people, you need to check this out. And isn't there a link or something that people can go to check out the pyramid? Don't you have something that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of information on the pyramid of success at the johnrwoodencourse.com. And we've got a number of tools and materials. Every day we get orders for Pyramid of Success posters or large vinyl wall graphics, and you can customize those to your own brand. Yeah, you need that reminder every day of that behavior that you're trying to emulate. And that quick lesson through those 25 blocks is a daily reminder of what our lives are all about from a behavioral standpoint.
In this pyramid of success, the first bottom layer, of course, the pyramid of success behaviors, and then the second pyramid, second level, which you talk about self-coaching. On the sides of that pyramid, on the left side of the pyramid, as I look at it, there's culture, and on the right side of it, there's character. That seems to go with these two bottom, I guess, foundational pieces. Help us understand how culture and character fit into those.
Yeah, everybody's talking about these days in terms of making their organization solid. That I think it's what's the phrase? Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Right. So everybody's trying to figure out how to build a strong culture within their company. Well, the two ideas of the pyramid of success behavior emulated by everybody in your company and by every manager, and everybody having the responsibility and the skills to do an effective job of coaching, will build a very powerful culture in your company. You won't have to worry. The idea, I've heard people for 40 years talk about wanting to get their team on the same page. I can't tell you how many projects I've worked on. We need to get our team on the same page. Everybody on the same page. Well, everybody says it, but nobody knows exactly what page they're talking about. And I honestly think that the pyramid of success is that page. I really believe that, Jay. If you can get your entire organization on that one page, and you've got everybody in the company working industriously with a great attitude, quality relationships, strong sense of loyalty, highly cooperative, people under control, strong initiative, alert, alive, right up to the top of competitive with greatness, enjoying a difficult challenge and being your best, a whole level of spirit blocks like ambition and reliability, things like that, and all the character blocks, sincerity and honesty, integrity. That is the page. That's the one page you're trying to get everybody on. That will change the culture of your company. And it also will produce the second part of that arrow, which is competence, right? We want people, Coach Saban says it real well. Do your job. That's the next level, is personal performance. The simple opportunity to do your job. Coach Saban in Alabama, who references John Wooden's pyramid quite often. Interestingly, a number of videos out there with Coach Saban talking about Coach Wooden's pyramid. He teaches his team to do their job 6 seconds at a time. 6 seconds at a time. We got one play. Everybody's got to do their job the best they can possibly do it and sustain it for 6 seconds. Oh, by the way, now we're going to do that, 80 or 90 times during a game, and you've got 4 quarters of championship football. And our work is pretty much like that day to day too, taking care of the small things, doing things the best we can do them, and moving, coaching ourselves to that level of personal performance that also is going to set examples for the way things need to be done and how well it needs to get done. That's kind of how all those things tie together. And then the other side of the excellence pyramid has character and consideration. You want a good company, hire good people. You want a high value company, hire people with good values. Perfect example would be Chick-fil-A. It's an example. I was recently talking to the CEO of Chick-fil-A, Tim Tosopoulos, that I've known for now nearly 18 years. He actually got a chance to interview Coach Wooden personally for almost 2 hours in front of 7,000 people, and it changed his life. There's a great interview that Tim does. He actually still shares that interview with every new operator who comes on board at Chick-fil-A, because the way in which Coach talked about sustained excellence and the kind of character and faith it takes to build and sustain a quality organization. And so you got to have those key character traits that come off of the pyramid: sincerity, honesty, reliability, integrity, patience. Good things take time, and they should. And then this idea of consideration. And the reason that word shows up in our organizational excellence chart, because what I learned from Coach Wooden in the way he talked about his own life, he set the bar of consideration about as high as you could possibly set it. He was always asked many times when I was with him in public interviews, and he was always asked the question, Coach, how do you want to be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? And he had a very simple but powerful response to that. And when you think about all the things he accomplished and all the things that he could say, what he said was, I'd like to be remembered as someone who was considerate of others. I'd like to be remembered as someone who was considerate of others. Man, consideration was a very high bar. And somehow, if you can develop that sense of consideration for each person and their needs and their wants and their individuality and care and consideration for who they are, and that's only going to happen from people who have good character. And that's why those two things are on the same side of the organizational excellence approach, that people with good character are going to be considerate people, and who will be happy to say, hey, I can be remembered as someone who is considerate of others. Those are how those things bring kind of all of that together. We think those are things that come out of pyramid behavior and great coaching and the responsibility to do your job well. And those things help you become an effective leader. Often we put leadership at the bottom and think that's supposed to drive everything, but it doesn't. Leadership comes out of a lot of other things that have got to be right. The character, the culture, and the behavior on a day-to-day basis. And that's the behavior that a leader has got to model. We like to talk more about coaching than leadership because people aren't too impressed with leaders today. We don't have a lot of confidence in our leaders anymore. We don't give our leaders a lot of credence. We don't give them a lot of respect. No one seems to want to be bossed or managed or led or supervised these days. But coaching, yeah, I think I'm okay with that coaching because I see how that can help me. Now, being bossed and managed and led and supervised, that seems to be more about you and your company than it is about me. And we don't see people responding like they used to those fundamental ideas of what authority and responsibility are all about.
Isn't it come back to the very thing that you just said, consideration?
Absolutely.
I think when you said, we don't respect them, when we do whatever the issues are, right? Well, if you're considerate,
yeah,
right, it's gonna be changing. I mean, it is such a beautifully simplistic answer, be considerate. But the truth of the matter is, it is exactly what the world needs today. The very issue that the world has today is that we lack consideration for each other. I mean, it really is true. We aren't considerate. We would rather try to find our differences than we would rather try to find what makes us the same. We don't tolerate ideas that are different from ours. We want everybody to be exactly the same and on the same page, and we somehow think that that's the best way for society, but it's not. It is the differences that make this beautiful. You don't want every leaf on the tree to be exactly the same or the same color. You don't want every flower to be absolutely perfectly look like the next flower. There's beauty in our differences. And we need to be considerate in the same way that you would be considerate of a tender rose or a lily or whatever it may be. And I think there's that piece that just is so desperately needed to be heard in today's world, that we just need to be considerate of each other. Stop for a moment. It's just doesn't have to be about me. It doesn't have to be about what I want. It doesn't have to be about, what I think is important. It doesn't have to be about whatever I'm selfishly thinking about in my own world. I think it's a very powerful piece of glue that will hold an organization together, regardless of the business or the organization, is that if your people are considerate of each other, you're going to do pretty powerful things. I mean, would you not agree?
Oh, absolutely. And it so much ties to the understanding and the way Coach used to teach what a real team was all about, and what teamwork and real team spirit. He even used that phrase in his definition of team spirit: consideration of others, and being more interested in in the success of the team than your own individual success. And it's one of the reasons why, coaching, so many things going on in athletic coaching today, really thrashing around with now all of this name and image likeness and conferences. These days it's all about the money. And somehow that's all about this idea that I'm more important than anything else, and the development of my brand, the use of my image, the financial considerations for me. Hey, our school's got to get the money. Some schools are going to get the money. We got to be the ones that got to be at the top of the heap here, and we're going to do whatever we can to have the best contract and the highest visibility, and all of those things that are challenging coaches to say, well, geez, what happened to the student athlete? What happened to the idea that first as a coach, I'm trying to develop a good person, and then I'm trying to develop a good athlete. Where's the consideration for ideas like that? I honestly believe John Wooden would do fine as a coach today. I think he'd be able to manage the complexity that he has to manage today, because he would set the example that young athletes needed to see of the way that they were led and coached and loved and treated, and how considerate he was for who they were as people and things like that. It's pretty challenging these days to be an athletic coach, particularly at a fairly sizable university.
Absolutely. His name's Lynn Guerin, co-author of the book Coach 'Em Way Up, and available everywhere. You're listening to him here on A New Direction. Hey, everybody, listen, Epic Physical Therapy, my physical therapist, by the way, their facility offers the most advanced top-of-the-line equipment, including the Alter G anti-gravity treadmill, the Normatec compression sleeves, the Game Ready. That's just a few. They're trained and certified in the most comprehensive cutting-edge treatments available, things like blood flow restriction therapy, dry needling, cupping, and those are just a few. Listen, if you want to learn how to get that epic relief, that epic recovery, and those epic results, just go to epicpt.com. That's EPICPT.com. And Linda Craft and Team Realtors. Listen, for over 35 years, she's been at the top of the real estate game, and her team is like none other. And they have a relationship with each other like none other, and they have relationships with their clients like none other. And that is the core of who they are and what they believe in. They are absolutely experts in their business. That is for sure. But when it comes to really what matters, it's about the personal connection, because they understand that your home is your home, and that there are memories associated with your home. And they want to protect those memories, and they want to give you the best value of those memories. So when you're ready to sell your home, or when you're ready to buy a new home and create your own new memories, start with Linda Craft and Team Realtors. It's really easy. Just go to lindacraft.com. It's LINDACRAFT.com. And we're back here on A New Direction, and we're with Lynn Guerin. And I got to tell you something, Lynn. This happened to me the last time you were on. So I get so caught up into listening to you, I forget that I actually have a job to do here. Because I'm listening to you so intently, and I'm like, I feel like I'm sitting at the feet of John Wooden, and he is teaching me, and I get so caught up, I forget that this is actually a job I'm supposed to be doing, and so my personal performance is suffering, which leads us to the third level of the pyramid, personal performance. What do we mean by the third level of personal performance?
Well, that's really alluded to Coach Saban and his idea. Bill Belichick uses this phrase a lot. Hey, do your job. That's what personal performance is all about. So, we've got to do the job that we're hired professionally to do, but we've got to do the job, as parents and people, as friends. It ultimately comes down to us. Ultimately, organizations are successful when a lot of people are doing a great job at the job that they have before them, and leaders are effective, aren't effective if nobody's doing their job. That's what personal performance is really all about. That challenge of doing the best you can do with the skills and capability and effort that you bring to every single task, whether it's a small thing or a big thing, whether it's a short-term thing or it's a long-term thing. Mm-hmm. It's just that challenge of doing your job the best that you can do it. Well, and teaching those lessons, yeah, right. Probably the biggest challenges in life as a parent is just that basic idea, right? Trying to teach your kids just to do their job, whether it's their job as a 4 or 5 year old, or as they become a middle school kid or a high school kid or off to college. There's a whole series of jobs that evolve for us as young people, and learning to do well at all the things that we have an opportunity to do prepares us to do bigger and better things as life moves on.
Well, I think the important part about this particular piece of the pyramid is that the learning should never stop with your personal performance.
Lifelong learner.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. I think what happens for many people, and I know that some of you are listening, I'm not chastising you, but I'm going to encourage you to maybe change the way you're thinking about this. If you've graduated from college, your learning is not over, whatever job you're doing. Every sports athlete wants to improve what they do every year. They cannot rest on what they did the year before. And so often in the work world, we get a job and we just want to keep a job. We're not thinking about how can I be better at my job? How can I improve what I'm doing at my job? How can I improve the people around me by what I do at my job? Because to me, when I read that personal performance piece, it is this constant level of growth of, am I growing? Can I, because John Wooden would never let himself off the hook, like in coaching. He was always trying to figure out how he could be better coach. Every year he was trying to figure, I got to be better. I got to find a way to be better. Matter of fact, I think you told me the story that he was on his deathbed and he was still saying, I'm working on it. Right?
Still working on it.
I'm still working on it. Right. So, which was some of his last words of his life. I'm still working on it. And I think what happens, and I really want to encourage people, whatever your job is right now, right? I don't care where you're listening to this, whether you're driving down the road and right. You need to take a look and go, what can I do to be better at what I do? How can I be better at what I do? Where can I go to learn to be better at what I do? How can I be so good at what I do that they're going to force to move me somewhere else because I'm just too good to do my job?
Yeah, Coach Wooden had a great phrase that he used with a lot of his role players. The best way to get the next job is to do a great job with the one you have. Right. And the phrase, Coach said, I will get ready and perhaps my chance will come. If you're doing the right things for the right reasons in the right way at the right time at the right level of effort, your chance will come. And You've got to stay optimistic about that. You got to stay on the pyramid when it comes to those blocks. I'll get ready and perhaps my chance will come. And boy, there's so many stories from John Wooden's life and teams, how that played out. And that's ultimately the hope and faith that we have to have. Do a great job at what you have an opportunity to do now. You're going to get an opportunity to do things bigger and better. The good Lord didn't make any junk. He's got big plans for all of us. We get a chance to be the best that we can be, and we got to be optimistic. At the top of the pyramid is patience and faith, right? Patience and faith are at the top of the pyramid. They're at the top of the pyramid because they are a result of all of the behaviors that come below it. Right. If you're working hard, if you're enthusiastic, if you're friendly, if you're cooperative, if you're under control, if you take initiative and you're intent on completing your goals, and you're a good condition with good skills, and you're a team player, and you're competitive, things are going to work out for you. And oh, by the way, you can be patient. Good things take time, and they should. And you can have faith that things will turn out as they should, provided you do what you should. And that's the way it worked on John Wooden's Pyramid of Success. Patience and faith are at the top, and it's such an important part of knowing what our opportunities are and being realistic and optimistic about the possibilities.
By the way, folks, write that down again. Quote from Lynn Guerin: "The good Lord did not make any junk." Please, write that down. It's so true. The next level up from personal performance is leadership effectiveness. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's really where, if you're ascribing to these key ideas of who you are as an individual, and you're working hard at the quality of your thinking, and you're working hard at the example that you're trying to set, emulating these behaviors on a day-to-day basis, and then you're embracing this role of a teacher. Now you have an opportunity to be an effective leader, and those things are going to happen. And oh, by the way, you've created a level of respect from people that is probably the most important thing you have as a leader, because without that level of respect that comes from your people, people aren't going to work for you very long and bring their best efforts on a day-to-day basis. So your effectiveness as a leader is going to come out of your effectiveness to coach yourself as an individual and set the example that'll create the kind of integrity and respect that every leader needs.
Beautiful. I love that. So the next level up is team performance. How does that next engage above the leadership effectiveness?
Well, ultimately, the leaders are working up and are working down. They've got to be effectively setting that example as an individual contributor. They got to be working with every individual to help them become the best that they can be. But ultimately, within our organizations, we work in teams. We work as a family, right? Day to day, we're stronger together than we are as individuals. We like to think about, what it takes to make the home team the strong team. That's a challenge. Mom and dad and the kids coming together with a better sense of teamwork. Mom and dad seeing themselves more as coaches than maybe authority figures, seeing themselves trying to set a good example every day for what they want their children's lives to be all about. And when individuals are doing their jobs and leaders are doing their jobs, then people are going to come together in a team environment and be much more powerful. There's that synergy that's created. When you've got that culture and you've got competent people, you got high character people that are considerate of each other, you're going to create a very strong team. You're describing the kind of team, the kind of teams that Coach Wooden built, for 4 decades. And it's really how well teams perform across the organization that'll determine whether or not your organization is going to be excellent. You got to have people doing their individual jobs at a high level, but work is so complicated these days, and there's so many interrelations, and the connections of technology has made team performance even more critical today than it's ever been. You got to get people to pull together in the kind of cooperative effort that real teamwork is all about.
I love that. So the very top of the pyramid is organizational excellence. So does that mean that if we do the bottom, the pyramid of success behaviors, self-coaching, personal performance, leadership effectiveness, team performance, then we achieve organizational excellence?
The answer is yeah. Jay, and organizational excellence can be defined in many, many ways. As a leader, as a CEO of a company, you should have a pretty clear idea of what you believe organizational excellence is all about. What is it that you're trying to achieve? I've had an opportunity to work with a lot of different companies in a lot of different industries, and a lot of examples of organizational excellence out there. And that's something that continues to evolve. What looked like an excellent organization 20 or 30 years ago when I began my business career isn't the same these days with all of the other social and cultural and technological challenges that we have. Even the challenge that the pandemic has brought into the marketplace in the last 18 to 20 months has really redefined what it means to be an excellent organization, and how you not just accommodate but create a whole new level of culture and competence that enables people not just to survive but thrive under these difficult conditions. So we're not trying to give the perfect definition of what organizational excellence is. That's got to come from the senior people within an organization. But this gives them a great way to think about where organizational excellence comes from. I have a client, their definition of organizational excellence would be they wanted to be the greatest dental services company in the world. That's where they started some 20 years ago. Now they've built over $1 billion company that's still working every day to try to be organizationally excellent.
Lynn, we've been on an hour.
Hard to believe.
That's so amazing.
Goes quick.
It goes really fast. It has been just a pleasure to have you on the show. I can't tell you how thankful I am and grateful to you for the book and for being a guest again. I would love to give you a hug and shake your hand. I promise not to break you if I do. But if you could leave us with a quick, just a quick new direction for people.
Yeah, I think I'd like to leave you where Coach wouldn't like to leave you. Whenever he spoke, he had this wonderful little poem that he shared every day. He shared with his audiences, and it connected to that idea of the example that he was trying to set every day. The poem was called "A Little Fellow Follows Me," and it went something like this: "A careful man I must be. A little fellow follows me. I do not dare to go astray, for fear he'll go the same self way. I cannot once escape his eyes. Whatever he sees me do, he tries. Like me, he says he's going to be, this little fellow who follows me. He thinks that I am good and fine, believes in every word of mine. But the base in me he must not see, this little fellow who follows me. I must remember as I go through summer sun and winter snow, I am building for the years to be, this little fellow who follows me." And then Coach Wooden would look at the audience and say, "That's every one of us. Be careful."
Be careful. Folks, there it is. Wisdom from John Wooden and Lynn Guerin. Folks, you know what? You're in control of two things, your attitude and your effort. It doesn't matter the circumstances. You have control of those two things. Take control of them. Do that today. Listen, I'm going to be back next week with another great guest. It's going to be another great book. It's going to be another great show. And as I say to you, au revoir to my friends who speak French.